Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is eat. Let's take a look at some of the definitions. This is likely a verb you're already familiar with, and its primary meaning, or the way we use this verb, is to mean to put food into the mouth, chew the food, then swallow it. The second way you might hear the verb eat used quite often is to have a meal, right? So you might hear people mention that they're eating at a particular place. Could be a friend's house, a family member's house, or a restaurant, or in the park, right? And just the act of having a meal. Eat is an irregular verb. To make the progressive tense, all we need to do is add ing to make eating. The past tense form of this verb is ate. It has the exact same pronunciation like the number 8. So, the participle form of this verb is eaten. You'll see that in some of our examples as we move to phrasal verbs next. So phrasal verbs generally change the meaning of the primary definitions or uses of these verbs, and that's what you're going to see here. You might hear the phrasal verb to eat something away, and it means that something is being destroyed, usually slowly. So here's an example of that. The disease eats the liver away. So liver is a part of the human body, and this sentence is describing that a particular disease is slowly destroying that particular body part. Another phrasal verb you might hear is eat in, and its meaning is to have a meal at home. Here's an example. We didn't feel like going to a restaurant, so we ate in. Just means we ate at home. Another phrasal verb you might hear is eat into, and its meaning is to use something valuable, and usually you're using this valuable thing when you don't want to do it, to use it. So let me give you an example. He's eaten into his savings since he lost a job. So in this particular sentence or example, someone had saved money. Perhaps they were hoping to buy a car, to buy a house, to save for retirement, but that person lost the job. So they're slowly using this valuable resource, their savings, and they probably didn't want to. Another phrasal verb you might hear is eat out, and that means to go out for a meal. And generally, when we use this phrase, we're talking about a restaurant. Here's an example of that. We haven't eaten out in months due to the pandemic. This is probably true for a number of people who stayed away from restaurants because of their fear of catching COVID-19. The last phrasal verb we're going to look at today is eat up, and it means to eat everything that is on your plate. Here's an example of that. If you don't eat up your vegetables, you won't get any dessert. Let's continue practicing using our verb eat in a few different verb tenses. Today, we'll practice simple past, simple present, and simple future. In the affirmative, in the simple past, we're going to use our irregular form of this verb, ate, and we'll use it with any of our subjects, I, you, we, they, he, she, or it. So here's an example sentence. I ate an apple an hour ago. If I want to make negative past tense, I'm going to use did not and then the base verb. Here's an example. They didn't eat ice cream yesterday. And if we want to ask a yes or no question, In the simple past, we're going to start with did, then we'll have our subject, and then the base verb. Did you eat all the grapes? Next, let's look at simple present. We use this verb tense to talk about our habits, routines. We also use it for facts as well. Let's look at some affirmative examples. I have two where I've just changed the subject. The first is, we eat dinner at 6:30. So this is describing maybe a family's routine or habit of having dinner at a particular time. If my subject was he, she, or it, I need to make sure to add an S to the verb. She eats dinner at 6:30. If I want to make a negative sentence in the simple present, I'm going to use do not and then the base verb, or does not and the base verb. Here are two examples. They don't eat meat. He doesn't eat meat. If I want to make a yes or no question in the simple present, I'm going to start with do or does, then I'll have my subject, and then the base verb. Do you eat breakfast every morning? Next, let's look at simple future. And today we'll use will plus our base verb to express the future. And that's really common with predictions and offers and promises. So here's an affirmative example. She will eat a snack before class. Might be one of those predictions. If I want to make a negative sentence in simple future, I'm going to use will not, and you might hear native speakers use the contraction form won't, and then the base verb. Here's an example of that. I won't eat any sweets later. If I want to ask a yes or no question, I'm going to start with will, then I'll have my subject, then the base verb. Will you eat dinner out with us tomorrow? Let's take a look now at some words that are related to our verb eat. And the first word we're going to look at is a noun, and it's slang, and this might look a little funny to you, eats with an S. and really all it is slang for food. So when you see this word, you can replace it with food, and it might make more sense as you read it. This might be something you hear more so than you read. So here's an example. You should go to that place for good eats. Just another way of saying that restaurant or that place has good food. Another word you might hear, another noun actually, is eater. And that word is used for a person or animal that consumes food. But we tend to use it to describe the way in which that person or animal consumes food. So you're generally going to see an adjective right before eater. Here's an example of that. They're big eaters. So here I've got that adjective big. It's implying they like to eat a lot. You might see good before this as well. The last word I'll leave you with today is a verb. It's overeat. And what it means is to eat too much. We see that prefix over, and that could help us figure out the meaning for this particular word. Here it is in a sentence. Many people overeat on Thanksgiving. So Thanksgiving is an American holiday in November. It's really a lot about food, and many Americans have this habit or routine of eating too much. And I'll note here with overeat that we're going to make other verb tenses in the exact same way as we would with the verb eat. So if I wanted to say last Thanksgiving in the past, I could say I overate. So just in the same way. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I hope you have a great day.